Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm really excited to talk to Laurent today. He's my new counterpart, and welcome, Laurent, to the Breakthrough Alliance and your new role as chairman of Europe. And I really want to talk today a little bit about your vision and mission and how it aligns with what we're doing here in the US. But first and foremost, I always like to start these out by asking, the audience may not know who you are or what your career is, and maybe if you can give a little background on your career journey. What was your career in health? How did you get to where you are? And then how did you end up today, agreeing to be chairman of the Breakthrough Alliance in Europe?
Yes, hello everyone. Bill, thanks for the question, and wow, what a session we just had before with Zina and Taranto. I was planning to join just for this session, but it was really worth listening to them. Quite some lessons actually. Still thinking about them. So moving to your question, I've been actually 25 years in healthcare, in BCG, in Abbott, and lately Sanofi. And actually, I was very lucky to be part of innovation stories all my career. In Abbott, launching Humira, and everybody knows the impact it has had on patients. In rheumatology, dermatology, or gastro. It was quite amazing to be on the journey. When I moved to Chicago, still with Abbott, I had the chance to head the virology, where obviously HIV was already a long time in the market products, but really kind of spending time with patients. I was in charge of Africa, where access was a big question, a really big question, and spent a lot of time with patient association, which, as you know, HIV, we were never doing enough given what patient had to go through. And then I did also worked on the program preclinical still at the time of HCV, hepatitis C, which, if everybody remembers, at the time there was no treatment, and all the companies were really working to get to a cure versus just chronic. And Gilead was the first one to get there. Abbott and others were following. I mean, it was just a big change, of course, in terms of innovation, but more important for patients. And then, I went to Singapore. I was there more like commercial, in commercial operations after 2 years in virology research. In Singapore, I was in charge of a large territory, from Russia to China to India and then Southeast Asia. And there, it's really more at the heart of that was the question of access, and how do you innovate to actually get, the drugs, the portfolio you have, mostly mature, a little bit of specialty, but to deliver actually care to people across all these territories, which is more a patchwork than really a very united one. So 10 years in Abbott and then moving to Sanofi, go quickly there, it was like 8 years. And the last 3 years as chief strategy officer, which there was more like where do we invest and where can we really make a difference as Sanofi in R&D and in digital for the patient. So at the end of these, the question was, do I continue? Do I move to something else where I can have an impact? And I decided to actually leave the company and focus on digital health, where I think it's the next big game change in healthcare. And with the experience I got in the four corners of the world and maybe four corners of pharma, maybe I can make a difference with all the people I work with so far.
Great career journey. And again, welcome to the Breakthrough Alliance board. So a lot of is going on in Europe in digital health, really all across Europe. Can you share some examples what you're focusing on and what you find exciting about digital in Europe?
It's quite amazing what's happening, and really it has changed over the last 5 years. I would say 10 years ago it was maybe an idea, and then progressively things developed. Now Europe is probably having maybe a quarter of all the digital health startups and companies that you see in the world, with the rest in China and of course a lot in US. I'll just pick a few examples so you can take a look at the company. I mean, I picked four actually. There was one company called Courage, Kurage. It's really it's a neuro company. It's focusing on stroke. If you know a little bit about the brain, I mean, when you have a stroke, the brain has a memory. It loses some function, but you have a number of weeks to actually recuperate them. And the brain needs to mimic movement that you will get the body to take. So it's a legging for the moment. It has electric stimulation that helps reproduce this movement and then get the brain relearn. So quite amazing innovation. Don't hesitate to connect with me and I can tell you more about these. There is Bliss Digital Therapeutics. It's a virtual reality glass to manage pain. Quite interesting. This is not just a device or gadget. You really have some data that shows the effect it can have on pain. And this one is definitely taking momentum. Bite Flies, BITE, and then flies. Very interesting set of sensors that you can use for neurorespiratory or cardio monitoring. Of course, you see a lot of companies like these. This one is quite advanced and also simple. So I look forward really to see the development of these. And the last one I would say, and coming from pharma, there is always this question of decentralized clinical trial. And here you can think about pharma, but I'm thinking about patients. 70% of the disease are chronic. And for most of chronic patients, it's clinical trial. So if you can do clinical trial decentralized, it changes the life of patient. And here, really, seduced by a company called Lynxcare, 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 Belgian company. Of course, being Belgium, I look at these two. Very interesting because it's very concrete, and they made some very good progress with. We see a number of patients they have in their trial, and also companies they work with. So really exciting.
Great examples. Appreciate it. Let's talk about the Breakthrough Alliance now. Can you explain, in your view, what the purpose of the Breakthrough Alliance is and what it means to you to be serving on the board now?
Yeah, I think it's a very important question. I think that the first thing I would say is that obviously, with you, with Stan and HITLAB, we've been interacting now for a few years, which I think is really the key ingredient before you get involved so much like now. And if I summarize the mission or the ambition of Breakthrough Alliance, it's really to enable digital health global champions to emerge in US, in Europe, and in Asia. So you see the different elements there. And I would say the pillar that were really appealing to me is, one is the ecosystem. And ecosystem is obviously all the people, all the expertise we have around, all the people, which is very important because you come once to an HITLAB symposium, you meet a few, you come regularly, you start having many, but you also have a relationship, like me, with Stan, with you, Bill, and with the other, and progressively, I came a few times, and of course with COVID, the others was really video, but this is really ecosystem is key. Innovation, of course, we're going to challenge the companies and the ones coming to make sure it's really innovates versus what we have been doing. And then the third one is I really like the strong presence in each region. It's not me coming to defend Europe or Bill, you would defend the US or others. Our view is that, especially with digital health that is heavily based on data, and for which we need proximity to patients, it's really important to get these strong companies and champions that we like to see emerge across the region. So I think it's a very big distinctive factor.
Great. So let's again talk about serving on the board. As you think about serving on the board in the context of advancing diversity and equity in Europe, how do you think about that?
There are maybe a few elements, maybe two elements in this diversity. One is it's a bit of a luxury starting from scratch here as an investor. Is then I look at the whole space, and I can tell you that when I see the startups, we talk a lot about gender. I see a lot of founders, both male, female. I see equally strong on both, and the ones I'm investing now. Obviously, I have some also both male and female, equal quality. I'm not even have to ask the question because the criteria I apply are a bit the same. People from very diverse background, expertise, origin. Very interesting. I see some, they are not scientists and they become incredibly innovative scientific startups, of course, they surround themselves with people. So I think that's our first role here is make sure we keep nurturing this emergence. And again, starting from scratch, it's maybe a luxury, but then let's start from scratch in the right way, stimulating this environment, not just being in Paris in a big city and getting all from there. But I think that's very critical. I think the second one that is important is digital health, actually, with the number of physicians they're going to decrease in the future, with people who are going to be remote from physician and hospital centers. I think digital can really help enable the equality of care and the equal quality of care for all the people. So that's what I'll certainly be focusing on in the board.
Okay, wonderful. I have one last question, but before we get to it, I understand we're going to flip the switch here, and you had a question for me, actually, Laurent, that you wanted.
Yeah, Bill, I think it would be important for maybe the audience here to understand from you, as you have this global perspective, and you have been actually working from the beginning to get breakthrough off the ground. I mean, how do you see this global focus that you have, and maybe what you expect from having a European member and the European focus?
Yeah, so the way I think about it is, and I talked to Stan a little about this earlier, is, healthcare is a global problem. It's not just isolated in the US, and patients across the world suffer a lot of the same things. And what I liked about the Breakthrough Alliance is the community, and it's a community of patients, providers, payers, entrepreneurs, investors. And the idea is us getting together to build a better healthcare system. And Europe is a natural first extension of the Breakthrough Alliance, where there's a tremendous amount of digital health going on. Again, similar healthcare problems that I think we can begin to solve together. So my vision is us working together as a community where we're exchanging ideas and technologies with our European cohorts and back to us, and thinking about how do we bring this community together to work in a more integrated solution to provide the best healthcare for patients, because that's really what it's about, is improving and saving patient lives. So what excites me the most is that now I have a counterpart that I can work closely with in building this out in Europe. And as I told Stan earlier, the goal would be over time is building this out to Asia Pacific and Latin America, and really being a truly global organization. But that's my vision, is to really work closely with you and your counterparts to build out the same sort of fundamental activities that we have going on here in the US, but in a broader concept, because again, healthcare is global. All right, I have one last question for you, Laurent, before we wrap it up. We have a lot of Europeans that are joining us as part of the Breakthrough Alliance on the phone. And now that they have their sort of own new chair in the European community, those that are listening, any last words for them or pieces of advice, how they can be more involved?
Yeah, look, maybe a few is, the first one is we are really here to support you. And when I say we, it's obviously, Bill and I that you see and Stan, but all the people listening from different parts of the world. So you need more people in your network, because you're looking for expertise. You want to get into US, or from US you want to get into Europe, or if you are from Asia, Latin America, obviously coming to these two big market. You want access to new customers, whatever needs you have. Obviously, the community here is very rich. So reach out and maybe start reaching out to me. I can direct you to the right place, or reach out to anyone else that you see here on the forum. And the second piece is, I think it's not just a menu you pick, but my advice is talk to us, and reach out to me on LinkedIn, talk to me, call me, and we can always see how to best this can help you. And of course, you can think about being involved in Breakthrough. If you want to first talk, it's, I think, the best way to make sure we identify what action to take to help your business.